channel. So today, as the title suggests, I am doing a review of The Wait by DeVon and Meagan Good. So I decided to read this book because I watched a Sway in the Morning interview and I just found myself very interested in whatever it was that they were talking about with regard to their relationship and them waiting and taking this vow of like celibacy until they found the person that they wanted to be with. I wanted to come on here and just kind of do a review of the book in case others are skeptical about the book, wondering like, what is this book really offering? Is it like any other self-help relationship guidebook? So this is just my opinion of what the book is talking about. So if you're interested in getting a brief overview of what this book is about, my personal pros and cons and thoughts about this book, then please stay tuned. All right, so The Wait. The full title of the book is The Wait, a powerful practice for finding the love of your life and the life you love. And so I am 27 years old and haven't found the love of my life and things like that. So I was like, well, let me just give this book a shot. So I took some notes while I was reading the book. It is a self-help book about becoming a better version of yourself with regard to your mind, your body, and your spirit. So this is done by taking a wait period. And so according to DeVon and Meagan, the wait is you going into something expecting a gain. It's a point between wanting and getting. So of course this book is about waiting for sexual relations, but they're also saying like taking this period to just kind of wait is supposed to allow you to help you become a better version of yourself financially, career-wise, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. It's the point between wanting all these things and eventually getting these things. The emphasis is definitely on romantic relationship gain, because I don't see the average person reading this book to learn how to gain wealth, because that's not what it's targeting. So while I was reading, there were a few themes that came up throughout the course of the book. And the first theme was this idea of celibacy versus abstinence. And so during the wait, you make the choice to abstain from sex for reasons of gaining something better in life. But the authors, DeVon and Meagan, wanted it to be explicit about what's the difference between celibacy and abstinence, as we know. For them, they define celibacy as refraining from sex because of a vow of faith. So you are cutting off sexual relationships because you have a purpose. There's a bigger goal. And abstinence is refraining from sex due to a lack of opportunities. And so the way they talk about it is that maybe you're living in a city where you can't find prospects, you're not attracted to people, and so you don't have sex because sex isn't on the table. Whereas celibacy is, I have all these options, I have a list of people I could call, but I'm purposefully not having sex because I want to gain something better in life. So we got this theme of celibacy and abstinence, and then there's this theme of gratification. So they break down gratification into two ideas. There's instant gratification, which is giving into your temptations as soon as you feel tempted. And then there's delayed gratification, which is waiting even though the temptation is overwhelming, because you know there's something greater to achieve in the end. We have another theme of patience. So showing restraint and allowing God to reveal your next step. They even talk about plugging into an emotional and spiritual power plant. So letting God be your source of patience and strength and willpower during what seems like a trying time. And the last theme I saw was this whole idea of faith, believing that your obedience will ultimately be honored with good coming into all areas of your life. So those are just like the themes that I saw and the kind of overall idea of what the book was about. As far as the cons of the book, there were a few, and these again are just my personal cons with the book. At times I felt like the book was very redundant. I felt like they were saying the same thing over and over again. I also felt like information was scattered about throughout chapters. I found myself reading the same thing from chapter 1 and like chapter 7, and I was like, well, why couldn't it just all be in chapter 1, or why not just put it all in chapter 7? So that was just like a thing for me. A second con was, and this is not so much a con for me as it may be a con for others, it was deeply rooted in Christian values, and this may be problematic for those who do not follow Christianity, or who do not believe in Christianity, or who do not believe in any religion. And so you are getting this lesson on love, but it is definitely saturated in Christianity. And so if you are not for Christianity, then this book is not going to be for you. It is also written in very heteronormative perspectives, which obviously has to do with the fact that it is written in a Christian standpoint and that the authors of the book are a man and a woman. So it talks about relationships with regard to men and women, and that is it. You can apply this to your life, whatever your sexuality is, whatever your sexual orientation is, but you are going to be bombarded with very heteronormative, a woman is this way, a man is this way. And a con for me, but maybe not a con really, is because I watched interviews of Meagan and DeVon, and his voice is very commanding. I read the book, the entire book, in his voice, except for those instances where Meagan provided her own anecdotes of past experiences. But for the most part, I read this book in his voice. Of course, there are cons, but there are definitely some pros to this book. And one pro that I found is that it is definitely written in layman's terms. It's not heavily noted in psychology, which makes sense because these individuals are not psychologists. So another pro is, even though it is rooted in Christianity, the simple idea is if you remove the problems in your life and take time to focus on you, then of course good things are going to come your way, such as growth and happiness, because you've taken the time to figure out who you are as a person and how to be a better you. Another pro is the use of movie analogies, which makes sense because, again, this is the career field that these two individuals are in. But when they talk about the weight, they use the analogy of a movie and an action movie, and how in every good action movie there's this tension that's building and building and building and building, and then at some point the hero comes in and we have a climax, everyone's happy. And so they put the weight in that same perspective of, over the course of your wait, there is going to be tension, there is going to be temptation, but you just have to keep fighting through it. And at some point, there's going to be the fun, happy ending. There's going to be a climax, and that can be talked about in multiple ways, climaxes. But okay. Another pro of the book is the anecdotes that both Meagan and DeVon offer. And then the last pro that I really enjoyed is that near the end of the book, both DeVon and Meagan have a chapter for the weight as it pertains to women and the weight as it pertains to men. And so I thought that was really important because honestly, this book is probably going to be pushed toward more of a female perspective and population and audience. But it is nice that they did include guys, because there are some men out there who are wanting to be better and who may think that the weight is for them. Final thoughts on the book. If you're in need of a refresher course on patience and finding love, then this is a book for you. And for a lot of young people like myself, and even younger, maybe a little bit older, we're in a generation where finding relationships that are substantial is becoming harder, and they're few and far between. So if you have read this book, leave a comment below. Let me know, did you like it? Did you dislike it? What were some of the things that you saw problematic? What were some of the things that you were like, yes, If you haven't read the book yet, are you thinking about reading the book? What are your reservations if you haven't read it? So leave those comments below. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. And as always, make sure that you subscribe, because I'm just out here trying to do positive things in the ratchet world. And until next time, and I'll see you later. In the case of 27-year-old Marilyn, her DNA proves